what I didn't know was, number one, your body's not broken. It's trying to tell you something. You just have to know how to listen. God designed our bodies to heal, so we have to listen to the whisper before it screams. And that's where functional medicine lab testing changed my life. And here's why. So everything takes a back burner to stress. So when your body's in a stressed out state, when it's stuck in like a chronic fight or flight, everything takes a back burner to that stress.
I am really excited that you're tuning in today, because if you've ever felt worn down, out of alignment, or like something just isn't quite right in your body or your spirit, then I think this conversation is going to speak to you. And I am joined by someone who brings deep wisdom, both spiritually and physically, to this topic. So with me today is Mrs. United States of, was it 2021?
Yeah.
Yes. Brea Sharron Estep. Brea is an integrated health practitioner. She's a best-selling author, a fitness coach, and a woman with a testimony to share. But what really stood out to me was something that you posted recently, where you said, listen to your body when it whispers before it screams. And I loved that, because I believe that tuning into what your body is telling you through the lens of faith can lead to real transformation in your health. So with that, let's welcome Brea.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here, Olivia. And I'm really excited about this conversation too. I just love these like God-aligned conversations.
Well, maybe you can take us back to, was there a moment in your journey where you felt that God clearly led you into the space of integrative health?
Yeah, good question. There's been time after time after time again, and I guess really where it started for me is how I got into it. Anyways, so I remember I had just won Mrs. United States. I just heard my name called. Like, you see it, it's just like they say on TV, like where you hold the person's hand and like the dramatic music is going on and like time is frozen and they just draw it out and draw it and you're like, oh my gosh, come on, like. So I'm there, and I heard the runner-up's name called, the girl whose hands I was holding, and then I heard my name, Brea Sharron Estep, Mrs. United States, and like literally time just froze, and it was like everything. It was like my whole life was, how they say like those end of the life moments where like your whole life flashes before. It was like that, but it wasn't an end of the life moment. It was like my whole life was flashing before me. But I was taken back to this like one point where I'd been doing it all. Like I owned a personal training studio that I was running full time. I was in school full time. I had just helped, so I was bouncing back from helping my mom take care of my dad, who unfortunately lost his brain cancer battle. I had done like 20 fitness competitions. I had a social life, and I was doing it all. Like I was on top of the world. And then life fell apart, and I'm in this moment, and I'm thinking back to this like specific point, and I just remembered like it was like a really hot day here in North Carolina, and I had just finished my afternoon shift at work, and it took me a lot of effort to get out of the car, and I was standing at the bottom of my stairs, and I was looking up at my apartment on the second story, and I was like, I can't make it up the stairs. And I was physically just exhausted, but I was also mentally and emotionally exhausted as well, as I'm sure many of our listeners have felt as well. But physically, like my whole body hurt, and I gained 30 pounds in less than 3 months, but I was doing all of the right stuff. So I owned the gym. So I was working out, doing cardio and weights 6 days a week. And I was eating low carb and no sugar, and again, doing all of the right stuff. But I hated myself whenever I looked in the mirror. Yes, because of the weight that I gained, but also because I felt like an imposter. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, you should do this. You should do more cardio. You should lift heavier. Da 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 da. I'm supposed to help other women, but I can't even help myself, and I hated myself for it. And it took effect on all of my relationships. I was an emotional wrecking ball to anyone and everybody around me. But then kind of back it up, I'm hear my name for Mrs. United States, and you probably see like happy, fit, and healthy now, Mrs. United States. And that's really where I was like, I know God's in this. And I knew that it was my chance to pay it forward. And now I had a microphone to do it. So I've made it my mission to help women heal holistically and just give them hope that they can too. So that's how I got into it, and just seeing everything full circle, going from I can't even make it up the stairs to being Mrs. United States. I was like, I know that God's hand is in this, and He really did turn it around.
So when was this? This was before you won, that you had this moment at the bottom of the stairs. But you also mentioned that you had been in fitness your whole life. You owned a gym. That doesn't make sense to me. How are you at this bottom of the stairs and you can't even make it up? I mean, I've met you in person and you're this tiny little thing and so fit. So I can't even picture what was going on. And how do you gain 30 pounds in 3 months when you are eating, breathing, sleeping fitness? Like, what was going through your mind? Like, what is happening to me? Did you have some inclination there?
I had nothing. I'd go to the doctor and they're like, "Oh, your blood works fine." And I'm not against doctors or anything like that. I think doctors, for the most part, exceptions to every rule, but they have our best interest at heart. But most people go in for a drug and a diagnosis. So what are they going to give you in the maybe 10 minutes they have with you? A drug and a diagnosis. What are they going to study? Drugs and diagnoses. And people just don't feel like they've been served if they don't leave the doctor's office without a drug and a diagnosis.
Yeah,
But
good
I would
point.
go in and, oh, your blood works fine. Just work out more and eat less. And I'm like, no, I'm starving and I work out for a living. Like what's going on? Oh, you're fine. Just, you need to drop a couple pounds. And that was the thing, is everything that I had been doing before that got me to a national level fitness competitor and, winning all of these awards for fitness and all of this stuff. Like I was doing the same stuff. Like it's not like I was sitting on the couch eating like Oreos and Chips Ahoy cookies. Like I'm still doing all of the things. And I tried to figure out let me try this, let me try that, let me try this. But I spent, I want to say, about 3 years not knowing what I didn't know. And what I didn't know was, number one, your body's not broken. It's trying to tell you something. You just have to know how to listen. God designed our bodies to heal, so we have to listen to the whisper before it screams. And that's where functional medicine lab testing changed my life. And here's why. So everything takes a back burner to stress. So when your body's in a stressed out state, when it's stuck in like a chronic fight or flight, everything takes a back burner to that stress. So your immune system takes a back burner, your digestion takes a back burner. When your digestion takes a back burner, it's not getting rid of all of those toxins. And again, God designed our bodies perfectly. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. So, if we're getting chased by a bear, we don't want to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bear. I'm going to need a potty break. I'm going to need a snack break." It doesn't work like that. Again, your body's not broken. But when we're stuck in that chronic fight, our digestion takes a back burner. And then, everything that's not digesting right, we have all of those toxins circling back in our bodies. And then all of that undigested food ferments and off gases and creates candida bacterial yeast overgrowth. Also, your sleep takes a back burner because if you're getting, you got a lion that might eat you in the middle of the night, you don't want to go into a deep sleep. Again, body's not broken. Um, so that's going on, but also, and if you can't rest, you can't recover. But then it's called a pregnenolone steal, and this is what I didn't know, is the same precursors, and I'm going straight nerd science, but the same precursors that go to producing cortisol, the inflammation hormone, which we do want, those same precursors go over to producing progesterone, and progesterone's like our mother hormone. So if we don't have enough progesterone because those precursors are going over to cortisol, then our hormonal imbalance is completely off because our progesterone's too low. And that's what was going on for me. And of course, I had to dig deeper with those functional medicine labs to figure out why. But what I didn't know is how to fix it. And
Yeah.
what we need to do is first identify the problem, figure out what's in your body that shouldn't be, like toxins, and what's not in your body that should be, like your vitamins and minerals, your deficiencies. What are you deficient in? And then eliminate those toxicities, replace those deficiencies to get the body back to a state of equilibrium where it can heal itself like God designed.
Boy, you have it all dialed in, just listening to you. But yeah, that moment at the bottom of the stairs, that was your whisper, it sounds like, of telling you that something isn't quite right. So, I walked through a cancer journey with my sister. And in doing that, I started researching, and I'm just picturing you at this moment too. Something's out of alignment within your own body. And my goodness, we can go down a rabbit hole with, supplements and testing. And like you said, you go to the doctor, everything's fine, but you go to this doctor and everything's not fine. And you need 412 supplements now to start taking. So where does where do you begin to start to know, like, where do I just start? Like, where's the first place to start to really identify what is happening within me to make these symptoms appear?
Yeah, and I always say trust your gut. You know your body better than anybody else. But when you're like, wait a second, what I was doing, before that was working isn't working now. And yeah, okay, maybe I'm, a little bit older or whatever, but normally, exercising and eating healthy works for me. What's going on here? Why am I in so much pain? So for me, I was diagnosed with, let me see if I can remember it all. Thyroid adrenal hormone issues, endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, scoliosis, anxiety, depression, ADHD/ADD. I think that was it. So all of these diagnoses, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't add. Like, how does that even possible? Like, and infertility, all of these things. How is all of this wrong with me and I'm still functioning? Um, so really the place to pinpoint is, that moment at the bottom of the stairs was my scream. I was like, wait a second. I'm in my early 20s. Like, why can't I make it up a flight of stairs? Like, my body's screaming at me. I didn't hear all of those whispers when I noticed the anxiety and the depression, and I noticed like the joint pain in my 20s. Like, what? I noticed the hormonal imbalances again in my 20s. So the first thing we need to do is look at your body from a holistic approach. So yes, blood work is great. I recommend it annually. However, blood's a homeostatic fluid, so it's going to pull from wherever it needs to in order to stay at homeostasis. So that's why many doctors are like, "Well, your blood work looks great. You're fine. Like, I
I
don't have a problem."
explain that. I don't understand that.
So if your blood's a homeostatic fluid, it's going to pull from wherever it needs to in order to stay at homeostasis. So that means that you, for example, I don't want to like say anything negative about anyone. Someone's blood work could be fine for calcium, but they could still have osteoporosis because their blood's pulling the calcium where it needs to in order to stay at homeostasis. So it might not show up. However, when we run a hair tissue mineral analysis in at-home functional medicine lab, then we're able to see that calcium level and the mineral ratios are off. So that's why I love functional medicine labs, like a hair tissue mineral analysis that's going to show me minerals and toxic metals, and an organic acids test that's going to show me candida bacterial yeast overgrowth as well as vitamin markers. And then we've got, saliva tests for thyroid adrenal hormones, but it really depends on what symptoms we're seeing first. Like if it's digestion issues, then we need to start normally with a gut test. And if you're seeing hormonal issues, then we want to start with a saliva test. If you're seeing like a bunch of weird stuff, honestly, with most of my clients, instead of being like, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be heavy metal toxicity, it could be candida bacterial yeast overgrowth, we just run 5 basic at-home functional medicine labs. So we have the entire piece of the puzzle. It's not, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be that. So that's really what I love to do. But if I have to choose one, normally it's a hair tissue mineral analysis. So we can see how stressed the body is and how that stress is affecting the body, because those minerals are our spark plugs of life and they buffer stress.
Yeah, and I can only imagine like the stress that we're feeling every day now is only just growing, for all of us. I mean, there's so much that's pulling at our attention. And that's a big thing on my heart, is just how many distractions that we can get in any given day. And it adds stress, it compounds, and there's just so much that's pulling at us. So we're probably keeping our bodies in that state way more often than we should, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I know that was definitely my story. It was, I and of course, it affected my relationships because I didn't like the way that I looked at myself, but it affected my performance and everything that I was doing at work, because it was this constant voice in my head, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What if you try this? What if you try this? And I couldn't get any clarity, and I felt like my head was just so foggy, yes, from brain fog that I was dealing with, but also because of all of the noise. I couldn't hear clearly, and I couldn't connect to God because all of this is going on all the time. Well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. What if you did? Have you tried this? What about this? And I think that, and again, that adds to our stress, and everything takes a back burner to stress, and our gut and our brain are in a gut brain axis loop. So what affects our brain affects our gut, which is where 90% of serotonin, our happy feel good neurotransmitter, is produced. So we're dealing with this external stress, but we're also dealing with internal stress of heavy metal toxicity, candida bacterial yeast overgrowth, thyroid adrenal hormone issues. And our bodies, it can only deal with one thing at a time. We can't deal with all of that noise. So if we've got all of this stress noise right here of life and things that, for most of us, we can't change, then, we aren't able to deal with these internal issues. But if we've got these internal issues going on, it's so much harder to deal with those external issues, the external stress, because of all of these internal issues going on.
So at that time that this happened to you and you were feeling that, I can imagine, I'm putting words in your mouth here, but were you feeling kind of, here you are owning this fitness gym and this fitness instructor, and then your body is showing the opposite effect. Like you said, you had gained, 30 pounds in 3 months. I can imagine that creates a little bit of a identity crisis to some degree too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where that imposter syndrome came in, because I was like, I know what to do. Like, I know exactly. I've done it for years. I know what works. I know the science behind, 1 pound is 3,500 calories. I'm not eating 3,500 times, 30 extra calories. Like, there's no way this math doesn't add up. What am I doing wrong? And again, it's hard to tell somebody to do something and that they're paying you for that. It's like you don't want to go to an accountant that's $10,000 in tax debt.
Right.
It's just it's not a good
Right.
thing. But I felt like an imposter, and that just affected me again with that external stress of,
Yeah.
hey, here I am trying to do all the things, but I'm not doing all the things, even though I was doing all the things.
Yeah. But then you can also see how now that's being used as part of your testimony to share and help others who are in that same, predicament now understand how they can overcome it. So where did your healing start to take place? How did you begin to heal?
Yeah, so for me it took a little while and a little bit longer. So most clients sales turnover every 120 days. So it's not like this for everybody. So, my main mission is to provide hope. It's not going to be this way for you, but I didn't have an integrative health practitioner. I heard about integrative health, but I didn't know anyone that was an integrative health practitioner. So I looked up a bunch of different schools and was like, just figure it out for myself. Why not? I've tried everything else. What do I have to lose? And became an integrative health practitioner. And for me, it was those functional medicine labs, learning that I had mercury toxicity and aluminum toxicity, learning that I had candida bacterial yeast overgrowth, learning why, like we talked about, everything takes a back burner to stress, learning why my hormones were off. And I was dealing with menopause in my 20s. I'm sitting here having hot flashes in my 20s. I remember some lady at church was like, "Girl, you just wait till you have hot flashes." I'm like, "No, I am."
Well, you had also mentioned, you said in the beginning you had some infertility issues before as well. You had lost your father to cancer, and I believe I had heard something had happened with your brother as well. So, were these all reasons why you had this deep desire to dive into health in general?
Yeah, I worked at I had a very, very good job before my dad got sick that was paying great money, and I was just working all of the time. My dad was in real estate, and he was literally on his phone and on call all the time, and just watching him suffer the way that he did with his brain tumor, I realized that life was too short to not do something that you completely enjoy. So I always loved working out. I taught dance for years, and then the economy tanked in 2008, and that was one of the first things to go. But I always loved that being active. So I decided to become a personal trainer, which then led me to opening up my own boutique fitness studio and taking that over and running it. And but I knew that I didn't want anybody else to deal, or as much as I could prevent. I didn't want anybody else to have to watch their loved one suffer from something that could be prevented. And of course, cancer is that wild card. But there is so much we can do to prevent cancer. And again, still a wild card, but so much that we can do that I didn't want anybody else to have to deal with that. So that's why I made it my mission to help women heal holistically. And that's why my platform for Mrs. United States, I should probably connect this piece too, but my platform for Mrs. United States is my nonprofit organization, Youth Fitness Link, which is aimed at building healthy, positive relationships on the inside and out in order to combat adolescent obesity, as well as teach those healthy lifestyle choices. And that really came about just trying to prevent the stuff that I see every single day as an integrative health practitioner, from, yes, diet. I remember we had a student that came in with a jar, I guess it's a jar, I guess it's a can of Pringles and a Dr. Pepper for dinner one night to one of our youth meetings. And I'm like, well, we got a problem. And just seeing the way that the kids interacted, like, they're in middle school and they're all glued to their phones and video games. I'm like, wait a second, like, how do we do this? And then I saw so many students that just would, tell me stories about how they were bullied for wearing hand-me-down clothes, or, they felt like they needed to go on a diet to be pretty. And I knew something had to be done. So that's where Youth Fitness Link came about. But um, just trying to love on kids as well as give them some health stuff they can do that's actionable.
Well, for people listening, Brea, what would be just some simple things that you would recommend for people to do to maybe eliminate some stress out of their lives, or even things that they can implement into their food that would start to help prepare the path towards healing?
Yeah. Yeah, normally what I say is start with drinking more water. Good habits flush out bad habits. And, yes, a spring water is going to be a better choice than a purified water and all of that. But if you're drinking a soda, just start with drinking water. And again, good habits flush out bad habits. So the more water that you drink, the better that it gets, but also the less that you want that soda. You'll be hydrated and crave that thirst. And get outside, get vitamin D. Walk around, get in nature. Yes, grounding is great for the earth's negative ions and all of that, but just get outside and get active and moving. And start with a functional medicine multivitamin every single day. If you can just do those three things, it's going to make a world of difference for you.
And I know that you also now have a 1.5-year-old son, so you are, busy in the motherhood realm of things. What about to our busy moms out there? What are some ways that they can start incorporating better health choices for themselves or their kids?
Yeah, I say lead by example. And what I like to do, again, focus on good habits, flushing out bad habits. I like to focus, especially for kids too, instead of being like, oh, no, we don't eat this. We don't eat this. We don't eat this. And again, my kid's one, so he does whatever I tell him to do, but or he eats whatever he either doesn't eat or, whatever I give him. But so a little easier said than done, but focus on getting those 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every single day. Again, your body's going to crave it. Give it 2 weeks. I always tell clients, just give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks, and if you don't feel better, then I'll leave you alone. But yeah, just start with fruits and vegetables. And there's so many, easy choices you can do. And I know that it's bananas are super easy and super convenient in the car. Same with apples. But even if it's a drive-through kind of night, maybe you just pick the fruit cup instead of the fries for you and your kiddos, because they're going to see what you do. So.
Yeah. And to piggyback a little bit on, some of the challenges that you walked through personally or that your family members walked through, a lot of times when we go through those things and a sickness or a loved one having a sickness, it can feel like God is silent or has abandoned us during those times. But I've learned that it's during those seasons that he's preparing us for maybe something that's deeper and greater as well. So in your example, looking back, what did those hard places prepare you for? And maybe even how has your relationship with God influenced your approach to health and healing as well?
Yeah, I think the more that I learn about science, the more that I realize there's got to be God, just because of all of the checks and balances in our bodies, like that pregnenolone steel that we talked about. And yes, your body might be stuck in chronic fight or flight, but it's to protect you. Again, our brains are wired to protect us. Like, we can get into all of the nerd science, but that really strengthened my relationship. And then seeing things from the other side, hindsight's always 2020, but seeing how God truly took my mountain and my mess and turned it into my message. And then, through Mrs. United States, through my coaching program, through my life's work as an integrative health practitioner, he really did turn it into my masterpiece, where I can use it to love on other women and help them heal holistically, or at least just give them hope that they can too. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So I do, if you get anything out of this message today, let me just be here to tell you there is hope. There is hope. If I can heal from literally all of the things, you can't just get issues. I don't even know if I mentioned that one, but all of the things, then you can too. But just seeing the amazing conversations that I've been able to have and the amazing connections and just where he brought me, I wouldn't have chosen. I wouldn't have chosen losing a brother or my dad or miscarriage or infertility or any of the decade plus of doctors and drugs, prescription drugs, and diagnoses that I was given. I always have to say, oh wait, prescription drugs that I was given, but I'm thankful that he was in it all. And Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and keep you in good health, is truly my life. One of my life verses. I couldn't pick just one, but that one's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing the other side, I guess.
Yeah, mine too. Well, where can people go to learn more about you, follow you, get more tips? I know you mentioned that you're going to have a show coming out here in the fall sometime. So, where can our audience go to learn more about you and what's coming in your future?
Yes, so I'm on all social media channels, Brea Sharron Fitness, but I have a free holistic health, wellness, and weight loss group. If you just find me anywhere on social media or just search holistic health, wellness, and weight loss on Facebook, it'll pop up. We've got about 1,000 members there, and that's where I'm there to provide all of the free resources and help that I can. And then if you want to continue the conversation about looking into your specific toxicities and your specific deficiencies to get your body back to a state of equilibrium where it can heal itself like God designed, there's resources in there where we can connect deeper. So yeah, find me anywhere on social media and holistic health, wellness, and weight loss group.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for your time today and for being willing to share with my audience a little bit about yourself and, what they can do to start making some headway in their health as well.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah,
yeah, and if I can just provide hope for anybody, if I can heal, you can too.
I love it. Thank you, Bria. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Have a great day.